Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Matt Stevens in Al Ain, United Arab Emirates, and this is the 20th of December, 2015. This is Learning Together, episode 306, and we're, well, let's see. I guess I should give credit where credit is due. Robert Walkman, a participant or a what's your role, Robert? The moderator?
In the courses, you mean? My role in the courses was community teaching assistant, community TA, and I was one of about 15, and there are several others at least here with us tonight.
Good. Okay, so he's one of the community teaching assistants, and he graciously offered to organize a session on shaping the way we teach English, which is a two-part MOOC that takes place in Coursera. The people here are going to tell you all about it. We have Deborah Healy and Jeff Magoto at the University of Oregon, and they've, with Elizabeth Hanson-Smith, I understand, developed this MOOC. They'll tell you exactly who did what. But anyway, this, as I understand it, I think it's in its second iteration now, and being a MOOC, it's very successful, and it's a significant contribution to our field. And I think I personally would like to learn a lot more about it. Robert just mentioned that everybody here knows about it except for me and a couple of other people. But anyway, we'll ask questions where we don't understand something. But we're all ears. We'd really like to hear more about this. So Robert, do you want to take it away and tell us who's going to talk?
Well, interesting. I was thinking that it would probably be good, for the record at least, even though there are only a few people that are not familiar with the courses, if somebody basically describes the courses, and I think that would be best handled by Deborah and or Jeff. And as a matter of fact, I actually just succeeded, as I mentioned to Vance a little while ago before we were doing this chat, that I actually managed to make a video clip, an MP3 file of Elizabeth describing the MOOCs in the Global Education Conference that was a month ago or so, but that has not been uploaded, so otherwise you could rely on that if you want, but it's not uploaded to the system. So
well, I think Jeff and I can probably do this, since we've been talking about the MOOCs in quite a range of places these days. And so what this was a Department of State grant, and they decided that it would be good for outreach to teachers of English language around the world to try putting some of these free materials, Shaping the Way We Teach English is a set of free materials, into this massive open online course format. This was a real and interesting experience, because you're taking materials that are designed sort of for self-study, but also for classroom, for teacher training, and putting them into something that is very much more self-study style. MOOCs work best for people who really are able to be in a self-directed environment. And this was, so we didn't have to do a great deal to the materials themselves, but it was how they were set up that we changed. We added a lot more support material, additional material to prepare people to use the readings, the videos, and then the in-video quizzes, which are actually a little more helpful rather than quizzes, as well as the discussions and the weekly quizzes that counted toward the grade. So Jeff, feel free to chime in on this too.
Isn't this the place where I'm supposed to say, what about the contest, Deborah?
Yes, for those of you who remember some of our intro videos, that was Jeff's cue for me to talk about the contest. Yeah, well, in addition to the work, the content in the course, we wanted something that would be sort of fun, but also similar to what English teachers might do in a class. And so the contest came out of that. This is where we used realia from different things. We started with stuff that Jeff and mostly Elizabeth and I had, and went on to get things from participants that were odd looking but authentic things that someone had taken a photo of, and people could make creative guesses about what they were, or say in a different forum what they actually were. So we got some really hysterically funny things. People were photoshopping spaceships. I mean, it was very fun. And so that in addition to the meaty discussions, which were the required discussions, required for a grade in the course, we had this other side that was for discussion and fun. The heart of this MOOC, I mean, there were different pieces to it. There were the quizzes, but mostly it was the discussion forums where I think a lot of the learning took place. Sharing ideas about the readings, about the videos, and then as the larger project, we had a lesson plan where people did it in two parts, part 1 and part 2 of the lesson plan, adding in content that we had talked about, or features that we had talked about, authentic material, alternative assessment, that sort of thing in their lesson plan. But really, when you create a MOOC, what you do as developers is put the environment in place. It's what the participants do that makes this kind of MOOC, something that's more like a constructivist MOOC, come alive. If we hadn't had such wonderful participants and the community TAs who guided, cajoled, encouraged, it would have been a very different and much flatter course. So I think the sharing was a wonderful thing, as Tiziana points out. It really was something that allowed people to learn from each other. I mean, there are 3 of us. There were typically 7,000 to 8,000 people actively participating in each of the forums. So it wasn't the 3 of us who created the buzz there.
Let's see, what prompted the forums? In other words, let's see, you have alluded to several parts of the course as you went through. There's a syllabus. But let's suppose from the perspective of a participant, and maybe some of the people here who participated might like to speak. But they got a syllabus at first, and then what prompted the discussion forums and the fun things that you had, the photoshopping of spaceships and things like that? How did you get from the syllabus to the fun and discussion aspects?
I think Magdalena should answer that, because I think she read more forum posts than anybody, than all of us put together.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I don't think so. I think that Robert was the best, but thank you. What I can say is that the discussion forums were, the questions, they were prompts from our instructors, and each week there was a requirement to post one original comment and comment on at least one other participant's comment. So this was one. But also, when talking about the contest forum, this was, I guess, prepared by Deborah, Jeff, and Elizabeth, and it was so much fun. And I think that once prompted, the participants came up with wonderful answers, and then we CTAs tried to comment, and our instructors were always there in the forums too. and they added to what was already there, and the participants were also very generous. They with sharing. They shared their answers to the prompts, and also they posted their own original thoughts, and they uploaded photos, taken in their classroom. So I think it was just all of that together. And the questions were the questions in the required forum. They were strictly related to the course materials, and yes, and I agree with Gilda. They were Gilda. They were very well designed, and they actually directed us. They showed us where to go. So, for example, if we were, I don't know, if there was a week that concentrated on realia, for example, you were supposed to describe how you used those in your classroom, and if you didn't, how could you do it possibly in the future, because some of our participants were not active teachers. They were very new teachers, or they were completely, from a different field, but they wanted to know more about how to teach English, because one day maybe, yeah, absolutely, Gilda, yes, they triggered critical thinking, absolutely. And I think that that's all I can say, but I'm sure that Robert and Gilda can add much more, and Rebecca, of course. So yeah, for me, as Deborah said and Jeff agreed, the forums were absolutely fantastic, and the participants, they were there, and some threads were they were so long you couldn't read every single post because it would take you ages. So then some additional threads were created. So there was some required thread A, B, C, D, E, and a lot of posts coming. So I think that's all from me, and I hope everybody else can join in.
Okay, so some of us are getting this inferentially. We have Chris Fry from Barcelona, one of our longtime Learning Together participants in Web Heads in Action. Claire, who's also been, she knows Deborah and Jeff and I quite well, and we've been interacting for a long time. So those are two whom I know. The other people I'm gathering are the community mentors, the community facilitators. Are there any participants here?
I think there are. I see the name Svetlana, who I don't recognize as a community TA, although I'm not positive about that.
And of course, if you hear your name, please chime in if you like and tell us who you are. Svetlana, I think, is from our PLN. I think we know each other. She comes to a lot of online sessions. Yes, okay, exactly. She says she has no idea what this is about, just wanted to see what was going on. She participates in a lot of Learning Together events and also in other online events that we have.
Well, if somebody really has not participated in this at all, maybe we should start by saying that a MOOC is a massive open online course. And this course typically had, it wasn't the massive kind, but it would have 20,000 plus who signed up, and about 7,000 who actively participated in the course. So, so that's what made it massive. There are other courses where you've got 20,000 people actively participating, but 7,000 was a good number. So we did have a lot of participants.
We're fond of saying that before the first course started, I think we had, like, the weekend before it started, I think there were 700 people signed up, and by the Monday when the course started, there were like 5,000.
And it went from there, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it is true. If you build it, you put it out there, people will find it, and that was definitely new to all of us. How quickly they could grow.
Well, but part of it too was that because of the Department of State's sponsorship, we had people involved in different regional English language offices, and then, I mean, people like Rebecca, who led a group of people and really enabled a lot of people to take part in these by creating an environment that was also face-to-face. So in some places it was individuals, and in some places it was face-to-face.
I liked the clarity in the introduction video. By the way, we're on the Shaping the Way We Teach English 2 slide. If you go to that slide that video is showing on the screen, we actually have it queued here. I don't know if we want to play it or not. We'll play it on demand, but it's a few minutes long. But anyway, you said that the course was for people who wanted to improve their pedagogical background in teaching English and also to learn some practical techniques they could use to do that. You said if a participant felt that they had those two needs, then this MOOC was for them. So that's quite clear. Were there more things you would add to the mix of things that people should would get out of the course? But basically, those two are that. If you're interested in that, and apparently no matter what you're teaching, maybe English or something else, then how did you address those? How did participants feel that they related in their discussions and the content that they created to those goals?
I'll offer a first opinion. I think we envisioned the course for primarily people who just completed a teacher training course, or were in the middle of a teacher training course and were relatively young in their careers. And again, what we found out from the very beginning was that over half of our participants had been teaching for Deborah, at least 5 years or more, and many 10 years or more, and many had graduate degrees. And so while we initially had what I would probably call a pre-service or beginning of service mindset, we had a multi-generational audience from the beginning, and that turned out to be a great thing.
Yeah, I think that really added to the discussions, because you had not only people new to teaching, but people who were quite seasoned with great ideas, and so it made the discussions much richer. Part of this too was creating a lesson plan which had peer graders, and the lesson plan process allowed people to see what other people, as when they were peer grading, to see what other people had created. We had folks who did the minimum number of peer evaluations, which was 3, but we also had people who did like 15 peer evaluations because they got so into reading other people's lesson plans. And I think that was an enormously useful thing, because some of the participants were not English teachers, so we had to remind the peer graders we had a rubric, to use the rubric, and even if maybe the English language was not terribly good, if the content was understandable, if the ideas were there, if it met the rubric, then give it the appropriately high score. So I think that was a really useful it was very useful having the seasoned as well as the very new or non-English language teachers. We had people who turned in, like we had a Russian language lesson plan. We had a couple of others, but most were English language lesson plans. So we really hoped that we would find the range of people that we found. Though, as Jeff said, we thought we were going to have mostly new teachers, and it was, it was a lot of different people.
If I may add something, I think that in addition to what Deborah is saying, the lesson plans and this task was fantastic, but maybe what was even better than that was the forum where you could share your lesson plan. So after the lesson plans have already been evaluated, you could post your lesson plan in this special forum, and I guess it resulted in a wonderful resource for many teachers all over the world.
Yes, people were very generous about sharing their lesson plans. We were really pleased with it.
seems there's a lot of modeling going here. You know, the participants are modeling for each other. So surely it's a great. I don't know how many. You said somebody was voraciously consuming lesson plans and commenting on them. So that person was obviously learning from what peers were producing. And then also, you mentioned that you had these materials that you then adapted to the MOOC, and I can see that one way you've done that is through, I guess you could call it flipped learning techniques, through making videos, things like that. You have in fact a YouTube channel that has content materials in the Learning2gether.pbworks.com. I made note of that. Jeff sent it to us in an email, and this will also be archived at Learning2gether.net. And any kind of links that I'm aware of when I make the archive will go there. But basically, that's you had these. I suppose students, the participants, were benefiting from being modeled in both ways. They were modeling lesson plans for each other. They were also getting techniques of communicating with students digitally. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, modeling was definitely part of it. With the lesson plans, we provided sample lesson plans. We did want people to see in action, what could be done. I mean, in part, to see how you could do a MOOC that might be more communicative, more constructivist. I don't think we had a spectacularly constructivist MOOC, but looking at the discussions and what people gained from the discussions, I mean, as Magdalena mentioned, it was the discussions and the opportunity for people to share ideas and share their lesson plans that really created this idea of we want a communicative space. And hopefully this then bleeds over into people's teaching as well.
I think a good illustration of that was the intro videos. It was just 2 years ago that we were at this, literally the week after Christmas, where we made that first round of videos. And going into it, I think they were very much ex-MOOC. They were going to be very much ex-MOOC, more top-down, more lecture style kind of intro videos. And this week, you will learn the following. And we tried to do that, and we couldn't.
Oh, yeah, that was such a spectacular failure. As we were trying to just practicing, we could not stay with the program.
It's great. I find that happens in the EVO courses we teach, which I model on MOOC. Cormier's 5 steps in coping with a MOOC, which is to declare yourself and then eventually network, cluster, and then collaborate on something. But basically, that's kind of what happens in MOOCs. Is people need to they can't really find the center. They don't really know exactly what's going on. But there's so many people that everybody is learning, taking what they can from the MOOC and taking what they want, basically, and tailoring it for them. That was certainly George Siemens' idea when he explains what they're doing. Is that each student, he said at one time that each student in his class, when he has a class, he doesn't know why each student is there. So one size does not necessarily fit all, and therefore a MOOC is very good at letting students or participants, get what they want from it. So if it's good if you're not controlling what they're learning. They're controlling what they're learning. So that would be a success.
Yeah, we did set it up in weekly chunks. Because so many people are really not autonomous learners, we wanted to have a little bit more security than just here's all the material, go have a good time. So each week we made visible another to-do list where we suggested paths through the material. It wasn't just here it all is, go. It was here's what we suggest that you do. And that was also very carefully thought out so that we had a pre-viewing knowledge check where we would be activating schema, didn't count toward the grade. People could take it as often as they like, but it would be asking questions so that people could see if they knew some of the core concepts for that week. Then we had our the intro video that Jeff has alluded to, where we talked. And it was, Elizabeth was leading our little discussion about what is the topic for this week. And instead of talking about what people needed to do, we talked more about the ideas that people would be looking at that week. And then, mentioning in the to-do list the other activities for the week. There were strict deadlines related to the lesson plan because of peer grading. When we created this, it was created as a cohort model rather than entirely self-study model. So there were very strict deadlines. You had to have your lesson plan in so that it could be graded by the peers who would then look at it, and then they would get the results at the same time. Aside from the lesson plans, though, the only deadlines were the end of the course. And so people could work through it in a variety of ways.
I'd like to make
Oh, go ahead, Robert.
I just wanted to make an aside comment. It's something we were talking about before, about the videos that although all the content videos, I guess, plus more, are available in the YouTube series. However, the intro videos that you guys made were custom made for the MOOC, and as far as I know, they're not there, right?
Right. Right. Those are within Coursera.
And also, right. And the content videos that participants saw, also, if they were viewing them as streaming videos in the course, there were these quizzes that you folks made, very effective, I thought, for checking one's comprehension along the way, which also one doesn't get to see if you just access the videos at YouTube.
It's nice to hear you mention that, because I think when we were developing, we thought that was one of kind of the revolutionary aspects of MOOC, these in-video comprehension checks that we were pretty excited about. 2 years ago, Zaption or EduCanon or some of the tools that do that now either weren't around or weren't as well known. And but I have to say, in talking to a lot of participants, I don't think we ever got a whole lot of feedback that either that they were used or that they were enormously well liked, or maybe they just worked well enough that people didn't feel that they need to talk about them. But we had a couple of people that were upset when they discovered that they didn't watch the videos in Coursera. That is, if they downloaded them, the in-video questions weren't there. But I don't know if you had any other feedback on that, Deborah, but I think we were very worried about getting people all on the same page when we were developing the course, but once we were delivering, we realized that getting people all on the same page was just not at all possible.
Yeah, I think
within that context. People arrived when they arrived, and that they did have the security of the to-do list. So each week they knew what we hoped they would do, but how they did it and when they did it, that's the beauty of the MOOC.
Yeah, we did learn after the first iteration. We ran through 4 series of the 2 courses. That's what we've done so far. After the first one, we realized that we needed to close enrollment after the deadline for the first lesson plan because people were coming in week 4 of 5 and wondering if they could get the statement of accomplishment in the course, and we'd be going, no, there's no way you can because of the peer grading element to it. So when we closed off enrollment in week 3, things worked a little better. People were a little more satisfied than they had been when they were coming in. Even in week 5 saying, oh yeah, I want to do it all this week. And we'd say, no, I mean, you can't do the lesson plan and peer grading project. However, anybody who enrolled in the class could keep looking at the material. And one of the things that just amazed me was the number of people who were still in the course as long as it stayed, available to people who had previously enrolled months down the road. So it'd be like there are 300 people doing stuff this weekend, and we are 8 weeks out of the close of this course. So I think that really speaks to your point, Vance, about people using it for their own purposes, and that there was great stuff there. So I was very happy that people could use their own, use it for their own purposes.
Robert has mentioned a couple of times. He's got the whiteboard. Great. I don't know what's going on with Robert.
It's really, I don't know how it happened, but that whole screen was like collapsed next to the left-hand column, and all I had to do was click and drag it out, and there it is.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I don't know how it got. Yeah, I must have, I don't know, miniaturized something. I don't know what. Anyway, that's totally off topic.
Sorry, Magdalena?
No,
I would like to.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I would like to hear from Rebecca, who organized a huge number of teachers in Davao del Norte, hundreds, at least 500 to 700, I think, and it would be interesting to hear some comments from her. But go ahead, Magdalena. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I'm sorry, Robert. I just really wanted to add something to what Deborah said. I've been a CTA for this MOOC for 4 iterations, and thank you for that. It was a wonderful, wonderful, professional and personal development opportunity for me. And what I want to say is that I had a chance to see the MOOC develop, and what was really amazing, and I've taken a lot of MOOCs on Coursera and elsewhere, what was really amazing was that not only were the instructors in the forums, they were present, they discussed things with us, but also the amazing thing was that they actually really responded to the needs of participants in the sense of creating additional materials, or, for example, supplementing or revising a weekly to-do list, because this was something amazing and useful, very useful for the participants, so that with each iteration I could see that the materials are really clearer and clearer, and even people from some remote parts of the world can actually understand and follow them. And I think that the MOOC was very participant friendly, and was thanks to the instructors. And I can say that I have a comparison. So that was wonderful.
We also had fabulous community TAs like Magdalena, Robert, and many others that it wouldn't have been the same course without their enthusiasm, dedication, and just amazing amount of work. And community TAs are not specially recognized or compensated. the Coursera model is that community TAs should be volunteering in a pure way, so that they should never be paid for doing the work of the course. But and we of course did not pay our community TAs, but they did so much work to make this course as communicative, as collaborative as it was.
I guess they're learning too. So everybody does these things because they learn so much from them. That's what Stephen Downes said when asked why he bothers to teach courses for thousands of people. Must be a lot of trouble. He said, well, because I learned from it. Maha was asking, Maha is from Egypt, by the way. She's missed your 4 courses, and she wants to know if there will be a 5th. And Maha, of course, you can come on and say hi and ask them yourself, actually, if you have another question.
That's a good question. Right now, we are not looking at another iteration, but that could change. We're looking at perhaps providing it on a different platform. We aren't sure what's going to happen with it.
Also, Robert has been asking if we should show the video. What do you think? That is the introduction. It explains quite well, and it would go into the recorded record of this webinar. Should I play the video? Would people like to see that? Do you think people would benefit? We got a sure.
Claire says yes. I say yes.
Okay. Well, it went to all the trouble to upload it, so here you go. Okay, I'll play this video. So should we introduce it? What is this video about, Robert or anybody?
If I'm thinking of the right video, then this is the one that's used to introduce the course as a whole to people who are thinking about taking the course. Is that the video that this is, Robert?
Yeah, this is the intro to paths. So it's to part 2 of the 2-part course. I guess the reason that I included that one was because it's the course that I knew a lot of people participating in our discussion have taken, and I'm not sure about number 1.
Okay, well here it is. It's 3 minutes and 42 seconds long. Maha is asked. She says she's curious about something else. Maybe she could write that. Yes. Okay. Deborah is on top of Maha's question in the text chat. Okay. Here's the video. So it will play for 3 minutes and 42 seconds. I'll put its link in the text chat in case it doesn't play for you. You can hit on the link. There we go. So I think it got into the recording. Even if you didn't hear what we were listening to, you can play it yourself. Here's the link in the text chat. It's the video at that page, and also if you hear the recording, hopefully it will be there. Robert got me to experiment with this today. It's the first time I've tried to play a video through the means that he showed me here in Collaborate. So I'm learning by doing this as well. Okay. So could I just say that just as Robert has just popped in, if any other participants in the text chat, whether you're a participant, you're a CTA, if you have any perspectives you'd like to share on this course, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and grab the mic after Robert if you want. Feel free to, and also we're following you in the text chat. If you have some comments to make there, we can respond to them there. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest basically the same kind of thing. Specifically, I was hoping that Rebecca and maybe some of the other community TAs, Gilda, any of the other people that I haven't heard speak, or that we haven't heard speak, could give us a few words and let us hear your perspective.
Okay, well, hello again. I'm Gilda. And to add to what Magdalena was saying, I think that one of the great perks of the course was that the positive atmosphere that was generated in all of the forums. It's my feeling that in each of the forums, we were all like a big team, a huge team working together towards a common goal. So there was not much criticism there. So I think it was great. It was a great learning atmosphere within the forum. That's the only thing I would add.
And Gilda, were you a CTA or a participant?
Well, I was a CTA for many times in many of the courses this year. I think I started being a CTA back in January, and I collaborated as much as I could. In some courses, I was more active than in others. But well, it was a great experience. It was great to be able to help. And more than helping as a CTA, I think I learned much more than what I helped. It was a great learning experience because I could be able to help people who really needed it, who really needed support in English language teaching, who felt lost, maybe with big groups. And well, there we had the chance to really help them, right? We felt that we could make a difference as a CTA, right?
Yeah, and to answer your question in the text chat, if you want to click on your video, we can see you, and we'll see you when you talk. So if you do that, if you stop talking, you should switch off your video. I set up 4 screens. I was a little concerned about doing that early in the program because we weren't sure who would come, and sometimes the video drives down the bandwidth, but I don't think we're going to break it at this point. So if you want to talk, you can turn on your video if you like. Gilda, you can come back with your video on if you want. And yeah, there's somebody there. Okay, I'll switch mine off and let someone else take the floor. Can't hear you though. You need to click the mic button.
Okay, now.
Yeah, now we got you.
So you need to click off. All right. Okay, so here I am, Gilda, and well, yeah, it's great.
Okay, great.
I'd like to see everyone here.
Okay, well, anyone can click on the video. There's somebody else there.
Hi, I'm here too. This is Robert, wearing my shaping T-shirt from Manila.
So you do
I'll
get
turn off
something
my
for
video
all the work.
and change to my. Well, that's only for people that happen to be here in the Philippines and happen to meet Rena, who was a participant and organized groups, was invited to be a CTA, but had conflicts and couldn't do it. She was trying to join us in the conversation this evening. My guess is she may have had technical problems, but anyway, I'm going to be quiet.
No.
Okay, it looks like Tiziana is trying to talk to us. We can hear some sounds going on somewhere. Oh, also, if you're not speaking, could you mute your mic, because sometimes noises where you are will bleed into the recording. But if you're speaking, if you want to speak to us, please click on the talk button, and you can ask questions of the developers, Deborah and Jeff, who are with us, or of any other, anything else that's, any other concerns? Tiziana, are you? I think we can hear you. If you'd like to ask a question or to say something. We almost had Chris in Barcelona there. We can see your, when you turn your mic on, we can see your avatar come up. Okay, well, anyway, so I think what I'm learning from talking to Deborah and Jeff is how perceptions of MOOCs, actually, as you're a teacher, as you gain experience being a teacher, you learn from doing, and so you might start out being a teacher. You said you had many beginners in this course. They start out thinking that you have to plan everything to what's going to happen. And of course, beginning teachers are quite concerned about going to class unprepared. When the more experience you get, the more the preparation is kind of, I know Wilga Rivers wrote a book about teaching English, and she said that preparation could take place on the way to class. You know, you're running it over your mind as you're walking down the hall. That's so true. But obviously, you have to have some preparation. The way George Siemens put it one time when I talked to him, he said he provides the coherence, and then as you set up the MOOC is the students provide the content, but you provide the coherence. So I can see that Deborah and Jeff have set up a Coursera course where there's coherence. You can see from the syllabus from the two levels that you're doing this, that, and the next thing. But then when they actually run the course, of course, they're much more flexible. They adapt a lot more. So that's one thing. And then from iteration to iteration, there are many adaptations. For example, knowing that you have to stop the enrollment after the first week because people will not be able to catch up. Any other considerations that along those lines that come to your mind as you've been through these courses?
We, as Magdalena pointed out, we did make changes as we were working through the courses, but one of the things that continued to build was the involvement of people in local areas, like Rebecca in the Philippines, who made it a much more, I think, valuable course in many ways by having the participants get together and talk with each other as well as being in the MOOC. So I'm hoping that Rebecca will talk a little bit about her experience in organizing and doing something like that.
Thank you.
Yes, I can't hear Deborah. Sorry, it's Rebecca. I can't hear Rebecca.
Much, Miss Deborah, and good evening, everyone. By the way, I'm Rebecca from the Philippines, and I'm really glad to be part of the MOOC. I've started hosting for a MOOC camp since the start of January this year. I actually have started with 50 teachers, and the 51st is me. Hello? Do you hear me now? Hello?
No, the audio is coming
Please let
in
me
and
know
out.
if you can hear my voice.
Can hear you fine just now.
Yes?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
This is Rebecca
Okay.
now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can only hear bits, and perhaps my internet connection is not so good this time. I rather would like to write it.
Okay. Well, we heard you fine just now.
So sorry.
Yeah. Sometimes I think Illuminate or Blackboard Collaborate sometimes puts together, it pieces together everything fine in the recording that emerges because it gets all the packages and delivers them. So we might get Rebecca coming out just fine in the recording. I don't think it's going to be the number of mics we allow because I think that we only have a couple of mics active and no videos at this point. But I did notice that Rebecca had some sound issues when I just chatted with her. It was just the two of us in the text chat, and she was here an hour early. And it says that I've got a notice on my screen that says audio is backed up and waiting to be played. Yes. Yeah, now it's fine.
What about now?
Can hear you fine
hopefully
right
I'm
now.
here now. Yeah, okay. By the way, I'm actually hosting a MOOC camp in Davao del Norte, Philippines for 3 batches already. I started just this year at the early month of January in 2015, and then that's the first batch. Then during summer, the second batch, and then starting September up to December for the third batch. Okay, that's good. So, yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, I don't want to. We're coming on to an hour. We started a little bit after the hour, so Deborah asked you to keep talking. So I was actually most concerned about Deborah and Jeff.
Yeah.
You have to go.
Okay. Yeah, it's
get last
me.
words. I want to make sure that we have opportunities for everyone. But Deborah says keep talking.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
To Rebecca. Yeah, don't play the video. Don't.
The video service is not responding, nor the audio is not responding so well. But anyway, I'm really glad to be here with you tonight, and glad too that there are more than 700 teachers from Davao del Norte who finished the MOOC for the third batch, starting in September up to December. And everyone is happy and are all looking forward to the celebration of learning, which I might schedule first quarter of 2016, and hopefully
Great, we heard that perfectly.
during that time there could be
thing that really
and professors who will join us via Skype to
that
greet
you have
the
all these people
graduates
who
of the
got
MOOC.
shared experience, who are getting, sort of keeping each other going, but also who get recognition locally that they've done it. And that, I think, is enormously powerful, and we really appreciate you doing that.
And
Dolly has something that she's curious about. Dolly, did you want to write it in text, or would you like to ask your question in the audio chat?
And I am just so glad too that there is really this MOOC, that provide the opportunity for our teachers to be able
Dolly has an interesting question. She just asked it in text chat. She says she's heard the participants talk about MOOC sessions in their institutions, and it's been quite interesting because you can see the community, especially in this worldwide MOOC, communities are forming around in different parts of the world around participants who are learning together in their community. That's really interesting. That's the clusters that Dave Cormier talks about. Anyway, Dolly says she's heard participants talk about MOOC sessions in their institutions. How can we organize those at our place? That would be possible. Do you have any suggestions for them, Jeff or Deborah?
The way that happened was not organized by us as the instructors, but rather by people within the institution who, hearing that the MOOC was coming, got a bunch of teachers together and set a time for everybody to meet, and arranged a space for people to meet. Many of these were done by regional English language offices or U.S. embassies, but I think that there were others that were just done more by people at institutions who said, let's just get a bunch of folks together and do this. And even if you have a handful of people, it makes it so much better than if people are trying to get through it all by themselves. It's sort of like, having your workout buddy where you don't feel like going to work out today, but your friend comes by and you say, okay, I guess I will. And that's the power of having a group of people working on something like this that could be very individual, but that is more fun with a bunch of people. So whenever you don't need to, so Dolly, you don't need to contact the RELO. You can, because if you do work with the RELO, you might get additional support, like sometimes they do a ceremony for the graduates at the embassy. But you can also organize it just yourself if you wish to.
And so this is one example. Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
I just wanted to mention that Rebecca, I know, worked with people from the U.S. Embassy, as did Rena in Manila, and we should give a little bit of hats off to Rebecca, who apparently has received an award from the Department of State and is going to be presenting at TESOL in Baltimore. And she's also going to another conference, I believe, in the States. Maybe she can tell us about that. Oh, there she said something in the chat.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on something that I wanted to learn recently was Minecraft. I was having trouble learning it and how to use it in education, in my educational setting. So the easiest way for me to get myself off the point where I was stuck was to organize other teachers to try to learn it with me. I've been using EVO, Electronic Village Online. Yes, Robert, time to plug EVO. That's actually a very good point because, well, what I did, I created an EVO session, or I should say I organized one, which is basically a ploy to get other people in the session to teach me about Minecraft. The URL for EVO is evosessions.pbworks.com. EVO Electronic Village Online is not just Minecraft. It's many other sessions. There are about 15 sessions. They run for 5 weeks every January and February, and registration for them is January 3rd to the 10th. Some sessions might cut off their enrollment, but many don't really mind. Yes, thank you, Deborah. That's at evosessions.pbworks.com. And yes, of course, and Jeff is plugging Flipped Learning as well. He's one of the moderators of the Flipped Learning session. So this is just some examples of the things you can learn and participate in. You can learn to develop ebooks. You can learn about creating games and Second Life, but it's basically about creating games. So you can, it's all very interesting sessions. So if you want to participate, it's free. It's brought to you by many of the people that are organizing this session that you're in right now. And you can meet a lot of other teachers and students. They're kind of like MOOCs. They have varying numbers of participants. Some have as much as 1,000, as many as 1,000, and some just have 20 or 30. But anyway, you're welcome to join that if you want. If you just go to evosessions.pbworks.com, the link that Deborah put in the text chat, you'll find all the information you need to know to enroll in the program starting on January 3rd. You can see the description of the sessions that are offered there, and you can enroll starting on January 3rd. Yes, and Gilda was a moderator in one of the sessions. Which one, Gilda? UMBBL. You can come on and tell us in the voice chat if you want. Using Moodle as a bridge for blended learning. Okay, yes. All right. There are a couple of Moodle sessions. So those are just some examples of some of the things you can learn. I think the most important thing about all of these efforts, whether it's shaping the way we teach English or any given EVO session, is the way they model ways that you can learn and ways that you can in turn teach.
Vance, I'd like to add one more aside about one of the unplanned results or contributions to the MOOC that just finished, the Paths to Success. A participant named Sergio, Colombian who lives in the Netherlands, started a great, and Magdalena actually pointed this out, discussion forum, a thread in the, I believe it was the Introductions forum, and asked people to share about their country and their cultures. And so people put up photos, they gave recipes, I don't recall if there were songs, but lots of intercultural and international sharing. It was just a wonderful thing. And now I believe the same fellow, Sergio, is organizing a Facebook group for anybody who's taken probably either one of the MOOCs to keep in touch. And I've been reading responses to that. I don't know that he's actually done it, but he's planning on starting this Facebook group, and people can join it and stay in touch.
Magdalena is asking in the text chat, how much time do you need to join an EVO session? Well, it takes no time to join one, but we spoke, Deborah said that about 30,000 people joined at least one of the Shaping the Way We Teach English courses, and 7,000 were still participating a few weeks into the course. So a lot of people register for courses with good intentions, and some people register and are not really able to follow the course, but then go back later and pick up on the materials, as Deborah has noticed in checking the logs of usage after the course is finished. And I would say how much time you want to spend learning something depends on you know, I don't know, you could spend an hour a day on it, or 2 or 3 hours. I would say probably, if you're going to learn something, you probably want to commit, I would want to commit at least an hour a day, maybe, or an hour every other day, something like that. So these things, once you start exploring a topic, you find that your schedule goes out the window. Yes, and Maha says she over-enrolls and then decides which she can complete and when she will check later. And for myself personally, I'm a great lurker in lots of different activities, and so I'm obviously a great participant in some activities, and I lurk in a lot of them. So if you really used me as a subject for research, you would probably find I'd be one of your peripheral members. But basically, when I go into a MOOC and I get interested in something that's going on there, I try to learn that. But I might not follow the whole syllabus myself. Maybe Maha has similar experiences. But what I get out of it is not measured by the syllabus that I completed or not. It's measured by what I learned. So that's the way I self-evaluate myself. Okay, we had someone who was talking to us.
Another one of the community TAs just joined us, Adrian, who I think is in Texas, but I'm not sure.
San Antonio. She's on mute because she's in a car full of screaming kids. That's great. Well, let's wrap this up. I think dinner is being prepared. In my house, anyway. I'm in the evening, and some of you might need to get onto your second cup of coffee. After midnight for Robert in the Philippines. So I guess, well, first of all, we should thank Robert very much for being a great CTA by all accounts, and also for staying up late at night and organizing this event for us, because he really took the initiative to organize Deborah and Jeff and set a date for this, and he's actually done the development of the wiki, Learning2gether.pbworks.com. A lot of that development was his work. So thank you very much, Robert, for doing this, and also Deborah and Jeff, of course, for conceiving this. Any last comments from anybody?
We'd be remiss if we didn't put a big shout out to Elizabeth. You know, Shaping was built over a year before it ever actually got delivered, and when Elizabeth came on board, that was a much needed shot in the arm. Wouldn't you say, Deborah?
Yeah, she is a writing fool. Not fool in the bad sense, but she can write material like nobody's business. I mean, she's just an incredibly productive materials developer, productive and very good. So it was helpful to us to have her energy and perspective on putting together all of the supplemental material beyond the shaping videos and the readings that we had. So it was really good to have her as part of it.
Well, anyway, well, thank you very much for agreeing to come and share with us and talk to us about your work. All of this is recorded. It's being recorded in Blackboard Collaborate Illuminate right now, and then I will get an MP4, put it on YouTube. I'll make an MP3 from it for those of you who like to listen on your MP3 players, and we'll render the text chat. So all of that will be out there. It will be posted at learning2gether.net. That's Learning Together with a 2 in it, the number 2. So
thank you, Vance.
Yeah.
Have to say thanks to Vance big time for organizing this, starting these discussions and keeping it going. And Vance, I guess talking with Elizabeth, decided we're the ones that had the bug to start this particular session, and I know both Vance and Elizabeth, and so they invited me to be the gopher or whatever to organize things, but couldn't have done it without both of them. I have to say also that Elizabeth was responsible for introducing me to all of you, to Deborah and Jeff and Vance, through getting me involved with the TSOL call intersection way back when.
Yeah, and the context for this, as you mentioned, was for Electronic Village Online Moderator Training. We were doing some readings, the ones by Bates, which you referenced, for example, and some of the materials you put on the wiki. The question was, how does MOOC, why do we call these things MOOCs? Is that a buzzword, or is there really some meat there in MOOC, which is a completely different discussion? If we pursue that point, we'll be here for another hour. But Bates makes a distinction between CMOOCs and XMOOCs, so I was talking as part of the training program about how I prefer the model of CMOOCs for teaching languages. And then Elizabeth said, well, what would you say about this one, shaping the way we teach English? And that's where, I think that's the audio snippet that Robert has extracted, and we'll put it up at the wiki, and we'll put it up on the learning2gether.net. But that's where this came from. Robert, I responded to Elizabeth thinking that this is a MOOC in the middle. It's a CMOOC, obviously. It has those community teaching assistants, and it has it has a plan. That's the next MOOC kind of thing, but it also obviously adapts to the people who are in the community, and so I thought it was a kind of a MOOC in between. Okay, so anyway, further comments? What I usually do is I let the recording go until people stop talking, and I'll stop the recording. And I have to stay until the very end, though, because in Illuminate or Blackboard Collaborate, the recording has to stop. But that is, everyone has to leave the room before the recording can be put in the bag. So
Maha has her hand up. Maha wants to speak.
Okay, sure.
Can you all hear me?
We can, Maha. How are you tonight?
Excellent. I'm very well, thank you. And yes, it's evening. It's 6:30 in the evening now. I'm happy that I caught up with everybody, because I got held up on the way home. But anyways, I'm glad that I got to know about the courses. I missed them, unfortunately, but I'm looking forward to the next runs. what I'd like to do is, at the end, before we go, invite you to try something, if anybody's interested now or later. Another venue for chatting, which also allows for more inclusive. I mean, it's more inclusive because everybody can actually jump in and chat. But it is faster than, in the sense that jumping in and out is much faster than the Hangout. It's called Blab. It's blab.im, the site. I think the registration is through either Twitter, Facebook, or maybe just an email. I can't remember how I registered. At one time you have 4 videos running, but I think unlimited, but I'm not sure about how the number, but I've seen a big number of audience who can chat like similar to what we're having here. You have mentions, you can tweet from within, you can post on Facebook from within, you can have co-hosts, and then those 4 chairs can be left by anybody. Like, for example, I can jump out and stay in the text chat, and somebody else can jump in a second. There's no preparation, no hang-ups, no nothing. I found it very, very useful and have a lot of potential, and it's in a beta. It's in the beta now, and every now and then they come up with new features. Like a couple of days ago I was trying it, and while I was on it, they added something that popped up on my screen, which was a map showing where everybody was from. So it may be a good thing or not very good thing, I don't know, but for now I'm finding it very useful. Interesting. Yes, that's the one, Gilda. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Gilda.
So that's from me.
Yes. You know, we I think 2 weeks ago we had Nellie Deutsch did a demonstration where she organized a chat in Zoom, which is another place that we're looking at. So there happens to be nothing on for next Sunday. If you'd like, we could hold a meeting in Blab. And,
yes,
if you'd like. But, you know,
because I'd like, of course, other than introduce you to it, I mean, it's good to see, to hear to hear different perspectives, from different needs, from different, like whether it is useful or not, and in what situations would it be useful.
Okay, if you're available next Sunday,
would be good. Yes,
I am.
Yes, same time.
1400 GMT. Is that a good time?
1400 GMT. That
right
is
now, 1600. Yeah, 1630 right now. So that would be 2 hours before.
No, that will be an hour too early for me, because if you start like today at
1500
3 p.m. GMT.
Yes. Okay, that's fine.
That will be suitable for me. Yes.
Okay, that's how Learning Together gets organized. It's all recorded now. Great. Okay, so I'll be in touch about it.
Thanks
we'll set up a session in Blab and we'll try it out. So great. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And Robert said, yes, everyone has to exit before the session gets recorded. It's very important when you're recording in Blackboard Collaborate Illuminate that you stop the recording, and then everybody has to exit the room. And then once that happens, then you get your recording. And you get recording probably a couple of minutes after everyone exits. And I'll put that recording link right away up at the wiki. Okay. And right now, I guess we're in kind of a post-show. This has been Learning Together, the 20th of December, 2015. We've been talking about shaping the way we teach English. A very interesting MOOC that I'm sure we'll be reading more about, because I know MOOCs are really great for gathering data. So somebody's going to write up something about this MOOC, I'm sure. And for those of you sagging into a holiday season, have a nice, happy one. And I just got back from a holiday myself. But my kids are coming out for Christmas, so. Okay, does anybody have any last thoughts they'd like to communicate?
Thanks to Robert and Vance for organizing this. And
thank you, Deborah. Have a nice Christmas.
Thanks, Deborah, Jeff, and everybody who contributed. Sorry I had so much trouble in the beginning. Always learning.
We're always learning, yeah. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and stop the recording. So thank you very much, everybody. And we'll post.
See Magdalena's small video thing there. If you speak, Magdalena, your video will get larger and we can see you and hear you.
Yeah, if you want to put your video on the recording, this is a very good time to do it. Okay, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop it then. So thank you very much.
I see you, Magdalena.
Yeah, I guess now you can also hear me.
Yes.
Or you can.
I can hear you.
Great, because I was trying to wish you all a Merry Christmas or, you know, whatever you're celebrating, but I guess I was on mute, so it was not much use. But anyway, I really want to wish you a Merry Christmas or, you know, just a festive season, whatever you're celebrating, because, you know, being a part of your team was a miracle. It was something very special. So I hope that this something special stays with you throughout the season and for the whole new year.
Thank you, Magdalena.
You're just in time to get that on the video recording. So good to hear from everybody. Okay, well anyway, anybody else? Last chance? It's a nice thing about free tools. You don't really care how long they run. Okay.
I'll sign off and maybe see you in Skype in a minute.
Okay, I'm in Skype. All right, bye everybody. Bye again.